Good day, everybody. My name is Greg Matheson. I'm the COO of Newfound Gold Corp, and I'm here to talk to you today about the drilling plans at the KEATS and Coke zone. Newfound Gold Corp announced on August 17th that we'd be conducting a 100,000 meter drill program at our Queensway project located in central Newfoundland. And we're here to talk about these upcoming events. I would invite everybody to visit the company's CDAR website and look at the filings that we have on there, as well as reference the National Instrument 43101 technical report on the Queensway project. I also may be making some forward-looking statements within this presentation, and invite you to read the disclaimer that's shown here. As discussed, we are looking at the drilling plans here at the northern part of the Queensway project, located in your screen. On the Appleton Fault is much of where the program's focused thus far. Several weeks ago, we had a presentation discussing the drilling that was occurring at the Little Zone, and that work's been ongoing since the 17th of August. The company now plans to move its drilling rigs over to the KEATS zone. And many of you will remember the KEATS zone for some discovery holes that we had drilled back in late 2019, including NFG 1901. And so the KEATS zone itself is located here on the map right, along the trace of the Appleton Fault Zone, approximately 200 meters east of the Appleton Fault Zone along a secondary splay structure. And the secondary parallel fault generally sits adjacent to the Appleton Fault. Now the KEATS zone, if we were to look at the history of this area, was originally discovered in 1999 through surface prospecting. They had discovered a boulder that had graded 1,869 grams per ton, about 100 meters to the west of the known extents of the KEATS zone. Now, the surface source of this boulder has still not been located to date. Historically, 7 holes have been drilled here at the KEATS zone, 2 of which were drilled by Newfound Gold in late 2019. The first drill hole that we had conducted was about 65 meters below the historical drilling that had been done at the zone and had yielded a spectacular intercept of 19 meters, grading 92.86 grams per ton gold. The second hole that we had drilled actually graded 1.54 grams per ton gold over 12 meters, and both intercepts actually contained visible gold. Obviously, the first drill hole yielded a much higher grade, but there was a consistency in the width of the mineralized structure, and there's a lot of distance between these 2 holes. And Newfound, as part of its 2020 program, is both looking to infill that spacing as well as step out further within this zone. And we'll also be looking down deeper within this structure. As we know with other orogenic systems, specifically in the Victoria State in Australia, some of these type of deposits can go quite deep. One thing also to note is that with the type of mineralization we're looking for here, a large number of ounces can be contained within a small volume of rock. So some of the initial drilling will be quite tight to the discovery hole in 2019. Looking at the surface of the KEATS zone and some of the area here, we can see the location of NFG 1901. We can also see the location of NFG 1902. Both of these holes intersected what is called the KEATS baseline fault zone, which is a linear fault zone that ranges from 10 to 20 meters in width and can be traced through drilling for over 300 meters along strike. Historically, within this zone, they had done some surface trenching back in 1999 and had exposed surface mineralization along a similar length of 300 meters along strike. In both cases, the zone remains open along its strike extents as well as its vertical extents. Veining at the surface of the KEATS zone reaches widths up to 6 meters. And below surface to date, we've seen vein widths in the 3 to 4 meter width. The intercept that we see here highlighted in the blue is the intercept in 1901 and is roughly 75 meters below surface. To look at some of the line work that's showing here on the map, Newfound Gold and historic operators have conducted a series of geophysical surveys over this zone, including ground-based induced polarization. Newfound Gold conducted airborne MAG and EM surveys in 2017, and in early 2020, we conducted an airborne gravity survey. Of particular interest is the ground IP survey, in which we can see here that the ground chargeability creates a very close analog to the known extents of the KEATS baseline zone and appears to represent a direct signature of this zone. This same geophysical signature can be traced for over 2,000 meters north of here, and actually is the controlling structure on a number of other high-grade showings that we have further to the north. To the south of this, the historical survey boundary is intersected and no further data exists further to the south. In 2020, we can look at the drilling plans for this zone. Initially, we'll be conducting roughly 12,000 meters of drilling in this zone, covering roughly 950 meters of strike length along the KEATS baseline fault and other secondary faults that lie between it and the principal Appleton fault zone. 2 of these holes will actually reach down to a 500 meter vertical depth with a roughly 700 meter depth of drill hole. The bulk of the drilling will be conducted along a 50 by 50 meter grid pattern, drilling at the extents of the KEATS baseline fault zone. Several other holes will be looking at drilling interesting geophysical targets, including this pink line that you see here, which represents a strong EM conductor. That EM conductor sits along this green line. This green line is a EM contact between 2 different rock units, the rock unit to the west being highly conductive in EM, and the rock unit to the east being lesser so. This same contact we can trace for 10 to 12 kilometers along strike, and for the most part this contact remains vertical along that entire length, except for a roughly 550 meter length here just west of the KEATS zone where this structure dips slightly to the west. We believe that inflection in this structure here, this contact, has some role to play in the development of the KEATS zone. And so 4 holes will be testing this actual EM conductor, and as well as covering the southern strike extension of the KEATS baseline fault zone. So looking more closely on section at what we see within the KEATS baseline zone, this structure here is principally what we refer to as the KEATS baseline fault. There are only 2 holes showing on this section, with roughly 65 meters below the historic drilling was the intercept in NFGC 1901. Again, it's displaying a very similar width as the drill hole that was previously drilled above it. Of particular interest are the clay alteration halos that we see around this zone, and these are traceable between the various drill holes. Several secondary zones exist further to the west and closer to the actual projection of the Appleton fault zone. So the initial goal here with this upcoming program will be to expand the known mineralization within NFGC 1901. As has been found with the Fosterville mine down in Australia, tight space drilling is required to trace these epizonal extreme high grade deposits. And an initial 8 holes will be conducted at roughly 10 meters spacing around NFGC 1901, as well as several other holes that are conducted on a more broad spacing of 50 meters. Looking at some of the analog comparisons between the KEATS zone and the Fosterville mine, visually we can see that there's many similarities between the two, and these images appear in much of our promotional material throughout our website, and you can reference those. Here we see good evidence of the epizonal style of mineralization with the quartz vugs and disseminated visible gold within the quartz. Again, we have a similar pattern appearing on the right-hand side with the comparison of the KEATS zone and the Fosterville mine in southern Australia. Looking here is a boulder of the surface mineralization that we see at the KEATS zone. Much of the surface mineralization is not exposed at the moment, as it was reclaimed in the early 2000s, but there are remnants of this mineralization available to us. Located on the right is the intercept in NFGC 1901, and you can understand the size of the veining and the multiple series of veins that cut through this important structure. Below is a close-up of the disseminated visible gold that occurs within this vein, and you can understand the high concentration of gold grades that we get within this. Thank you for viewing the presentation. We look forward to conducting our initial 12,000 meters of drilling at the KEATS zone. And if anyone would like further information, either visit our website or contact Craig Roberts at the email listed below.